Hope everyone's okay. Haven't even started the music yet. We're getting there. We're doing the stuff. We're getting there. Right. Come on then. Oh, low battery. I don't know how long it's gonna last. Fun story, about a year ago, the Yota player had like a big recall for their batteries, and so you're supposed to like swap the battery out, and I never did. Because you had to like peel this thing off and then like basically take the entire thing apart and like reinstall a new battery. Well, I never did. And then today they were like, hey, can you install that battery like we asked you to? And I was like, oh, right. Sorry. So I had to do that, but obviously the battery's not like charged all the way. So, sorry. Right, today we're going to do two different stitches. We're going to do the chain stitch and we're going to do a satin stitch. Okay? So, for the chain stitch, we're going to do it in this little section right here. This little middle section. It kind of goes along the entire length of your hoop. There's two different ways to do a chain stitch as well. There's the regular chain stitch and the reverse chain stitch. So technically we'll be learning 3 stitches, but it's entirely up to you which one you like to do. They look exactly the same. You just have to think a little bit about logistically which way you want them to face, if you know what I mean. Okay? So because you can start in the same place, but they'll face different ways. So I'm going to tell you about that in just a minute. And then for the satin stitch, we're going to do a satin stitch over in this section here. Just a nice flowing satin stitch that goes all the way along all the way to here. So we're going to be working in this one, and we're going to be working in this one today. And then I also have the satin stitch for up here in the clouds, but that's entirely up to you. It's not, you don't have to do it. Okay, so let's get with the chain stitch first. For this one, I like to turn my hoop sideways because you kind of work it in rows and it ends up looking almost like a knitted sweater when you're done. Okay, just so you can see what I'm talking about, it's this one here, and then also the satin stitch is this one here. Okay, so they're going to be right next to each other. So let's get started. So we're going to start right over here on the edge. We're going to go up and then come down like right next to it, if not in the same hole. Okay, so you don't have to make a whole different hole. You can go down the same hole if you want, or you can just go right next to it, whichever is easier for you. I know some people, when they go up and down out of the same hole, sometimes it can snag the threads a bit and they don't like the way that looks. So just have a think about that when you're starting these. Okay, now you're going to leave a loop like this, and we're going to come up inside the hole in the loop. Right? Now wherever you put the stitch here, that's how big each of your stitches is going to be. So if you put it way, way, way out here, they're going to be like ginormous. Do you see? Like that is just way too large. Okay, but if you put them really, really tiny, like this far, you're going to have like 1 million stitches to do to fill this section. All right. So I tend to do them about this big. Not too big, not too small. You're going to come up inside that loop and you're going to pull it this way. Okay, now we're going to pretend like we've literally just started this stitch again. All right, these two are different colors, by the way, just in case. So we've come up and you're going to put it down, your next stitch right down your needle, inside the loop like this. There we go. So I'm just inside that loop right next to where I came up, push it down, come up. We're going to leave that big loop again, and we're going to come up again, just a little bit forward, about the same length. So you kind of want them to be about the same length, each one. And then again, down like this, and then up and pull it. So this one is the chain stitch. And what you're going to end up with is lots of rows that are next to each other, and you're going to have some that you will need to start a little bit lower. So as we are working this along, you'll end up having to start some chains maybe here, maybe start one down here, maybe start one here. Okay, so don't worry, you're going to go the whole length of this here and then end it, and then we'll start again. Okay, so I'm going to do the whole length of this one. I'm gonna have a little chat. If you've got any questions or anything like that, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer. And then I'll show you how to do the reverse chain stitch right after, and then we'll do the satin stitch, and then we'll be done. So we are gonna leave a space because we're gonna have something else that goes in this little tiny, this really thin one there. I've made this extra long so I didn't have to keep getting thread, but it doesn't always work out in your favor when you do that. So try and keep that in mind. And you just work it all the way down. So there we are. I also have some good news. This morning, on the 4th day of the stitch along, after trying for literally 4 whole days, the videos have finally downloaded. Videos 1 and 3, it just would not download. So I finally have them, and they'll be up on YouTube tonight after this. Granted, if I can get this one, then they'll all be up there together. But golly gosh, it is fighting for my life here. Also, I do not have the kids tomorrow, so I've got a free day. So I need to make some reels. Start on the July pattern of the month. We're doing all the things. And we're just creeping up along. That is my hoop stand, okay? Nothing else. Also, I finally just got the Aura Ring 4, and they've come out with an Aura Ring 5. Ugh. That's like way thinner, which would be way better because my fingers are so short and stubby. Oh, it's always the case, isn't it? How annoying. So yeah, anyone got anything exciting to report today? How are you doing on your stitches so far? Do we have any questions? Do you have a favorite stitch so far? Do you have a stitch that you did not enjoy doing so far? Mine would probably be the brick stitch because I do not like that one. I don't know what it is about it. It's just like not a favorite. Or maybe a feather stitch. How do you keep your hoop nice and tight? So I use the Albizi hoops that are made here. They're actually made, I say down the street, but there's literally like one road that connects like a lot of England. But they're made close to where I live, here in England. They're the LBZ, and I also use 2 layers of fabric, so it can get really nice and tight in my hoop. Also, I make sure that brick stitch is difficult to keep neat. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's why I do the 2 colors, because otherwise it's really easy to get all over the place. I feel like there's like one stitch can get like a little bit to the side, and then all of a sudden it's like your whole thing is like drooping down. It happens to me all of the time. So this is probably one of the bigger sections that we're going to be filling in. So feel free, if you do not like the stitch, to sub it with a different stitch, or you can even make this section into 2 different sections. So if you're like, oh, I don't really want to fill this up, or I don't like the way it looks, or whatever, feel free to break it up. Right, so we're almost finished with this one. I'm going to show you the reverse chain stitch as well. So when we finish it, you're going to finish it like that. I think I can do one more small one. And then I'm going to zoom in when I finish it so that you can see what I mean. Okay, so you finish it like this. I was zooming away on the feather stitch and I messed one up and I had to pull it out, and then I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to get back where I should have been. Oh, bless you. I wasn't having trouble until I had to back up. Oh, bless you. Do you know what? It does happen though, especially with the feather stitch, because it's such an awkward stitch. Do you know what I mean? Right, so to end this chain stitch, you're just going to put your needle down right on the other side of that loop, okay? And pull it down like this. So you're just doing a tiny little tacking stitch to keep it in place. All right? And then I'm going to show you the reverse chain stitch. But I'm going to do my really corny diagrams, and I'm going to need to get a longer piece of thread, I think. Well, I guess we could try. I'm actually going to snip that off because I do need a longer one. Okay, so when we do our reverse chain stitch, I'm just going to show you really quickly. I'm just looking for a spare piece of fabric or paper or something. Oh, I think I spotted a spider. That's fun. Just to jazz it up. I can get that creepy crawly sensation on me for the entire time. Okay, that one is all filled. So let's go to a different one. Where's all my scraps gone? Here's one. Perfect. Okay. So when you're doing the chain stitch, okay, like we've just done, this is what we've done. We've come up from the bottom, done our loop, come up inside the loop, basically made another loop, and we've made all of our loops all the way like this, all the way to the end where we did a little tiny thing like that, okay? When you do the reverse chain stitch, you're going to start at the end and you're going to end at the beginning, okay? This is what I mean. You're going to start with a detached chain stitch, which is you come up a little bit before the end of the line. Pretend this is like the line. You're going to come up a little bit before the end of the line, do your loop and finish it. So you're going to end just like this. Yeah. And then now you're going to come up below this line, below the stitch, on the line. You're going to come up and you're going to put your needle underneath this stitch, these 2 threads, and then back down. Please don't go through. Good. Okay, now back up on the line underneath this set of threads and down. Up on the line underneath this set of threads and down. Do you see the pattern? Up on the line, underneath the threads, on the line, underneath the threads. Okay, and this is where I say that it takes a little bit of thinking, because right now these look the same, yeah, except I started one down here and I started the other one up here. So if I were to start the second row in the same spot as the other one, yeah, so if I start down here, watch what happens. Do you see how they're upside down? Okay, so if you want them, now there's no wrong or right way, okay? I'm just going to say that. There's no wrong or right way. But if you want all of these stitches to face the same way, meaning that the point is pointing down like this, if you start here, they're all going to point up. Do you see? They end with a point facing up like that. Okay? So there's no right or wrong way. They look the same in the end, but if you want them to all be facing the same way and you want to do the reverse, or maybe come up this way and then down this way or whatever, you just have to think about it a little bit more. Okay? So what I'm going to do is do the reverse chain stitch, but I'm going to start up here where I ended. I'm going to show you on this line like this, okay? Just so that you have a little bit of you can see it. All right? So I hope I explained that right, because it is a little bit trickier, only because sometimes people do one way and then one the other way, and then they're like, well, why is one upside down? I mean, and to be fair, if you did this one starting down here the same way, it would be upside down, you know? They would go the opposite ways. And there's nothing wrong with it, okay? There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. Of course, you can do it that way if you want to. It's just something to point out so that you know the differences and how they can face different ways. Okay, I'll be quiet and just start stitching, because we still have satin stitch. Okay, so we're just going to start a little bit. Yeah, like this. Don't put your... Right, let's just untangle that now. Right. Okay. Put it down like that. And that's to start the first one, just how we end it. Yeah? So if you just look at that one stitch and this one stitch, they're the same. Okay? So now we're going to come up below. I'm purposely leaving a bit of space so I can do the satin stitch next to it. Okay? You're going to come up a little bit below like this. Slide your needle under. Loop it around like this. And then back down that same one. Okay? If you're sliding underneath the previous stitch, you need to be careful about what's next to it as to not catch threads of existing work. Exactly. And this is why this is definitely not my number one favorite stitch. I like the regular chain stitch. The reverse chain stitch drives me mad. But some people really love this one because they say that it's faster. I just like regular one. I like doing the loops. I think sliding underneath can get so annoying sometimes because you can snag the work that you're already doing or that you've already done. The other reason I'm doing it so far away is so that I have room to actually do the stitch without messing everything up. Also, I think when you do it this way, you have to be a little bit careful about how far away you're putting the first stitch, meaning this one. okay? Because sometimes you think you're, like I did it a little bit farther away, I think, to show. Sometimes you think you're making them all the same, and then all of a sudden at the end you're like, wow, that's got carried away. Like, that's really not where I wanted that to go. And they just happen to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you can use the stitch for lots of different things. I like doing like embroidered sweaters like this. Meaning like if I'm going to stitch like a lady in a chair, like knitting or stitching or something, and I want to have like a nice cozy sweater on her, or like a rug, or like a blanket. This is a lovely stitch for that because you can really make it look like, you know, an actual, it looks like an actual, like knitted stitch. What's it called? Like a cable chain or something? I'm sure someone's going to be like, no. I don't knit, so I do not know how. I actually bought knitting needles. And I never even tried. I'm not going to say I tried because I didn't even try. And actually, for a while, my friend Claire was trying to get me to do it. That's why I bought them for. And she did hand-dyed, well, she did. She doesn't do them anymore. But she did hand-dyed yarns and wool. And it was so lovely. But she started doing organizing events instead. And so she does that now, which is also so lovely. But goodness. I just could never do it. Well, I've never really tried, but it just looks really complicated. See what I mean? How they just tend to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I feel like mine don't lay as well when I do it this way. I think it's because I'm aggressive. Oh, that might be the end of the Yota player. Yeah. Oopsies. Sorry, guys. Right, there we go. I think you kind of get it. To end this stitch, you literally just end it like if you're just going to start a new one. If she ever brings her hand-dyed threads back, sign me up. They're gorgeous. So, yes, if you've gotten an advent calendar or a summer box in the last year, or even year and a half maybe, I think she's done 2 lots for me. They're so good, aren't they? They're so pretty. And the colors that she can do, she's really good with colors. I feel like she makes a really nice color scheme. Oh, I'm so over this stitch already. And we have to fill up such a big space. But honestly, you're not going to get so many rows. Maybe 6? Maybe 6 rows? And like I said before, some of them are going to go all the way down, maybe 2. And then the next ones, maybe 2 rows will go all the way down. And then the next ones will start maybe down here, okay? And then maybe down here, and then maybe down here. So please don't stress out if you're like, oh, goodness, you know, I can't. Or it's such a big space, like, oh, gosh, I'm going to be here forever. Like, you do not have to get this all done today. Please don't, if you don't want to, or if you have things to do, or if you just think it's too much, okay? That's fine. Honestly. You've got the whole weekend to do this. Oops. Because we are not doing any stitching on Saturday or Sunday. So tomorrow is the last day of the first week. And then by next week, all of the tutorials will be done. And then you will have your own time to finish whenever you want to. Isn't that lovely? I should not have done that. Because now I've made a big knot on the back. I'm almost done though, so I might as well just finish it, hey? Okay, and then next we're going to do satin stitch. I'm not going to show you the whole section with satin stitch. I just wanted to show you the reverse chain stitch as well as the chain stitch, only because some people tend to hate, and I do say that very strongly, because there's people who really do not like the chain stitch, but then they find the other way to do it and they think, oh, actually it's not that bad. So if that is you, like try both ways, even if it's just like 2 stitches of one way and then 2 stitches of another way, and then you can see which one that you like the best, because like I said, people tend to kind of just like gel better doing it one way or doing the other way. So yeah, just think about it. Okay, try it. Just try. Oh no, crisis. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about was all 6 strands, because in one of the embroidery Facebook groups, I don't even think I'm in it, it just popped up as a question that someone asked, and they were saying that they wanted to do a certain stitch or something, or she wanted a certain look, but she didn't know what stitch to use. And lots of people gave a lot of good suggestions. But the other thing I noticed that almost every single person said, under no circumstances use 6 strands. Don't do it. Do not ever use 6 strands. Do not use 6 strands. Like almost every single person. And I was like, interesting. Because if you know me, I tend to look at threads as like a pencil width and like a highlighter or a Sharpie or like a flat tipped marker, something like that. Okay. And I'm not quite sure that people understand what I mean when I say that. And what I mean is this. Is that if you've got a small piece of paper, okay, and you write satin stitch and then French knot, okay, and you take a really, really thick marker, take one like this. You can kind of see what it is, but it kind of all blends together. Yeah? It all is like, especially right here and right here and right here. You can't really see anything, okay? We need to start thinking of these things as use the thickness of the thread that you want to use for the line that you want to create. So if you would like to have thin, delicate lines, then you need to use less strands. If you're learning stitches like this, you do not have to go on a big rampage about how you do not need to use 6 strands for everything. Whilst I do the exact opposite and go on a rampage about how you can also use 6 strands, okay? But this is what I mean, is that you need to use the amount of strands for the kind of line that you want. Now, if I had used a pencil to trace that over, because it's got a thinner line, makes a thinner mark, that's just the same as tracing over a pattern with 1 strand or 2 strands to get more delicate lines. Do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see what I'm saying? And I was very close to messaging, but then I was like, do you know what? I'm not even in this group. That's none of my business, okay? Just let people have what they have and let people like what they like, all right? So what we're going to do is do some guidelines. I like doing guidelines because with satin stitch, it keeps me on track. It lets me know where to go next. It lets me know if I need to put some little 3/4 inch stitches in. So say that we've got a nice curvy line. Yeah. If you keep going straight, you might not get that nice curve. Okay. So I'm going to put some lines in. All right. So let's turn it upside down because I'm right-handed. Let's start with this one here, like this. It's going to be very kind of wave to it. Okay. Right, and surprise, I'm using all 6 strands again. All right, I'm just going to work kind of like from this way over, and then we'll see how we go. Okay? So, you can come up from the bottom or the top. I think the bottom's going to be easier because we can go down into that stitch that I just did. Okay? If you'd like to do this one first, you can do this one first and then do that one if you really want to. Now, regular satin stitch, okay? You're going to come up on one side and down on the other, and you're going to continue that all the way through. All right? So I'm going to say up on the bottom and down on the top. That's what I've picked. And you're going to put your stitches close together. Yeah? Just one strand apart. One thread length apart. Okay? There's also the thread saver satin stitch method, where you can save threads by going up on the bottom and then down on the top, and then up on the top and down on the bottom. So you kind of go over and then up, and then over and then down, and then over and up. But sometimes you don't get as nice of results because you have to be a little bit more precise with where you're putting your stitches, you know? Also, sometimes the stitches can look a bit twisted at the top because they're going over a really tight corner at the top of that. So for this one, we're literally just doing straight stitches that are really, really close to each other. And we're just moving right along, getting a nice edge on the bottom. Now, some people like to do a little outline on the bottom with either like a split stitch. I've even seen people do stem stitches before. That's never really seemed to have that. Like, I've never really done that before because I've never had like a problem with the bottom or the top, you know, having like a nice edge. However, if you would like to have a kind of more humped up edge, you can do it like a little stitch that way. So outline your shape first, and then you kind of tuck your stitches around it as you're going. Now with this one, you want them to be really close together, not overlapping, just a thread length away. I'm using 6 strands, so it's going to be the thickness of 6 strands. And then we're just going to lay them next to each other like that. If you make them a little bit too far away, then you can always add another one in. Kind of where, just to close that gap so you don't see your fabric through. And we literally just keep going until we're finished. Now, if you're using a sticky solvay or something like that because you didn't want to trace your pattern, that is fine. Obviously you can. For some of these longer stitches, I would probably wait and do the satin stitch until after you've taken off your sticky solvay and done all the rest of it. Because over on this side, you can't see it, but over on this side, the stitches are going to be quite long. So just something to consider if you have sticky solvay, because sometimes when you wash off your sticky solvay, some of your longer stitches can get a little bit weeble wobbly, like wavy and not as tight anymore. So just something to think about. Also, you're going to want to do weaving, because we are going to do weaving. You're going to want to do weaving when that is off as well. I know Robin used sticky solvay, but I don't know if anyone else did. I can't remember. I'm trying to get these stupid videos off. They're not stupid. They're not. But you know what I mean. So I really haven't had a chance to like peep everybody's stuff. Well, satin stitch is one of those stitches where you either get it right away or you just need to practice. It's not a difficult stitch. It's just one of those things that you do need to line them up, and they do need to be next to each other, and they shouldn't be super, super overlapping. Okay? That's where you can start to get it looking really bulky. And the other thing that you can do is you can run your needle through it like this. Like that, and it will kind of smooth out if you've got any snagged threads. Especially that one right there. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over. You can see the back. It's literally the same on the front and the back. Okay, that's how it should look. Now I'm going to show you the thread saver method. Now, let me zoom out just a little bit and then back in. Then you can see the back of that. So I'm just going to jump over to this one, literally do the same thing, but then try and come up at the top so that you can see it. Okay, and then we're going to come up here and then down again. And then up at the bottom and then down at the top. I tend to only use this when I'm running out of thread and I don't want to cut a whole nother piece of thread for something that's like really small. So maybe if I think, wow, I really am running out and I've got only just a little bit more to go, if I do a couple thread saving stitches, then I can actually make this last bit of thread last a lot longer. So really just showing you as something to know, and not necessarily something that you should do all the time. Now, the other reason I like doing these guidelines is because sometimes, especially as we come along this way, you'll see some of these lines are smaller at the bottom and a little bit wider at the top. This is where you can add a 1 or 2 stitches that only come a little bit down all the way. So maybe they come to like here, and then your next stitch will cover over that stitch. So you have a long stitch, one that's a little bit shorter, and then another long one. And what it does is the 3 stitches at the top fill up that space, but at the bottom you're only going to have 2 stitches. So you're going to get kind of like a fan, a small fan looking thing. Okay? It'll make sense once you get to it. You're going to go, this is what she meant. I promise. Without having to do like a whole bit on angled satin stitch. But if you have a look, this is the beginning where I showed you the regular satin stitch. And then I did the thread saving just for a little bit there. And you can see how I just jumped right over a tiny little stitch and then up again. So you've got nothing in the middle on the back. Now, if this was something like, I know, something that needed stability on the front and the back, then obviously I would only do a regular satin stitch because that keeps your fabric the right tautness. Is that a word? Tautness. Stretched in the right. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And it keeps all of your stitches laying straight as well. Okay, meaning that the thread goes flat on one side and then flat on the other side, where, as I said earlier, it has to do a really tight turn here. So sometimes when you have your stitches going up again, they get a little bit like twisty. Yeah, the only thing you need to work out or watch out for this one is to work out your how tightly you're making your satin stitch, because sometimes you can pinch together your fabric. If your fabric is not nice and tight in your hoop, you can actually pull too hard and your fabric can pucker together. So around it you'll get kind of little dips on the top end or bottom where you've actually pulled it so hard that you've pushed it together. And unfortunately there's really nothing that you can do to like undo that other than take out those stitches and then restitch them a little bit looser so that they lay nice and flat and they're not manipulating your fabric in any way. Okay? Okay. Oh. Oh, dearie me. I know what I mean. But there we go. That's it for me. Today we did the chain stitch. We did the reverse chain stitch, and we did the satin stitch. So please don't worry. Like I said before, don't fret. You can do this whenever you have time from now until whenever you feel like finishing, okay? You could also not fill in the entire thing. You could do just stripes if you wanted to. So you could leave a little bit of fabric showing and then do another one just right alongside, okay? You could do it like that. Use your imagination. Like, it's your hoop. It's going to hang in your house, or it's going to be, you are owning it, all right? So if you really don't like any of these stitches, give it a go. If you hate it, then fair enough, okay? That's fine. Do a different one, or you can do it just a little bit so you get it, but then, do something else the rest of the way. It's the same with the satin stitch down here. You could always do blocks of satin stitch. There's also something called an encroaching satin stitch, which I wasn't going to teach, but I can just tell you what it is. Basically, it's when you have bits of satin stitch that they don't go the whole way down. So imagine if it was like this and this. So you do all your satin stitch to here, then you do all your satin stitch to here, and then you do all your satin stitch to here. So you have 3 separate sections, all satin stitch, but it just makes it so that you don't have those really, really long satin stitches, like on this end. So you could do something like that if you wanted to, like this. Okay? And you could do each square as tiny little satin stitches if you wanted to. You don't have to, obviously. Just trying to solve the problems before they arise, or give you some more options. So there we are. That's it for me. I said it before, but then I just keep talking. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, and I'm off to go try and download this video like the other ones and put them all on YouTube. So yeah, enjoy. Oh yes, I'm doing that. The only issue with this though is that you have a ton of little squares to do. So just think of that, okay? You still have tiny little ones that are all going to be in a row. Yeah, so this one will all be together in a row. So it will look like this, but just smaller. Yeah. And then there's another one that will be in a row like this. And then there's another one that will be in a row like this. So it will be more work, but it'll be really beautiful. You know what I mean? It'll give you a bit more texture. Okay. Good evening. Good night. And I'll speak with you tomorrow. All right.